Hello and welcome to the first installment of Gonzaga Game Day. After weeks of preparation and meetings, we are thrilled to bring you exclusive content to YouTube on a monthly basis. My name is Nazar Awad, and alongside me is Thomas Gallagher.
These two anchor chairs will be filled every month by current Gonzaga students to bring you the stories of our student athletes, our coaches, and our alumni. This show is an opportunity to showcase the broadcasting talents of GU students while shining a light on the members of the Gonzaga athletics community that make this place special, both on and off the playing fields.
In today's episodes, we sit down with Gonzaga Volleyball's head coach, Katie Wilson, feature Gonzaga's first ever World Cup qualifier, and of course, a recap of craziness in the kennel.
But we start the show with men's soccer. Head coach Aaron Lewis's team took a large step forward last season and continued their growth as a program this year. Their three-game home winning streak last month was their longest since 2016. They are 4-3-1 overall in their last 8 matches and have a massive showdown against the top-ranked team in the country, the Washington Huskies, on October 14th. As he did last season, Demetrius Kigea leads the team in scoring with 3 goals and 6 assists. Logan Dorsey, Frankie Lukovic, and Wiley Trujillo all have a pair of goals on the season, while goalkeeper Johan Garibay has racked up 48 saves.
Over the summer, 10 players from this talented Gonzaga squad played on different semi-pro teams across the country. Senior Devin Slingsby represented Ventura County Fusion in Southern California, where captains Angelo Calfo and Wiley Trujillo played for Flint City, Michigan Bucks and the Ballard Bridges, based in North Seattle, respectively. All 3 of these franchises made deep runs into the playoffs, and inevitably, the Zags crossed paths. The result? A championship.
USL 2, it's the 4th division of American soccer, and it's semi-professional, amateur, and basically it's an opportunity for guys that are looking for contracts or looking to stay sharp over the summer for their college teams. They call it a pre-professional league, and I definitely think it's something like that because it really develops you for the next level, and despite it being semi-pro and 4th division, I still think you can find a lot of quality there. I think the road games are always fun because they were always at difficult locations, and then just like celebrating with your teammates, getting a good result on the road, and also just the trainings every day I thought were really fun and just a great habit to have in the summer.
The games, I think, were very intense because you had massive crowds and, I mean, big stakes, and I think those were definitely like the biggest crowds that I'd played in front of. So managing emotions and just the pressure of performing for a big cup tournament.
I think a big part of this summer was growing up, and not only was it a big thing for soccer where I was around players who were top players in the country, but it was also that since I was on my own for the first time pretty much other than college, it was like a summer where I had to figure my own way out, and I didn't have a car, so I rode around on a bike everywhere, and we traveled to different areas in California, so I got to experience something new, and not only did I grow as a person, but then as a soccer player, and I can already feel that here this year, and just being around players of such high levels, it really pushes you.
Obviously, I was disappointed with the result, but I mean, I think it was so cool the fact that we had 2 Zags in the semifinal, and I mean, even though it didn't go my team's way, I think it was really enjoyable.
And then I actually got to play Ballard and Flint City Bucks, so getting to play 2 Zags is pretty cool, and so that playoff experience was awesome. And then we beat everybody, and I was on the same side as Wiley during that game, and I showed him who his boss was there. Hey, as a senior here, I gotta show the juniors that they're never better than me. So that was awesome, and I absolutely loved the end of it since ultimately we won, and there's no better way you can finish. You know, we couldn't go any farther, so that was so cool.
We turn our attention to women's soccer now, who came into the season looking to build off their historic 2021 campaign where they set school records in almost every meaningful category. After a 1-2-2 start to the season, the women have been on a roll. They are in the midst of a 7-game unbeaten streak, including 5 road wins and a draw against number 22 Pepperdine. They sit at 2-0-1 in the WCC, good for 3rd place in the conference behind Santa Clara and nationally ranked Portland. Erin Healy leads the team with 6 goals on the season. Kate Doyle already has 2 goals and 4 assists in 6 games since returning in action in mid-September, and goalkeeper Liza Bosselman has racked up 37 saves while allowing just 9 goals in 12 matches.
5th-year senior Sophia Braun is having another stellar season under the radar for the Bulldogs. She's a 2-time All-WCC performer and has a pair of goals this season as well. It's what she did this summer that made headlines. Playing for the Argentinian national team, she qualified for the 2023 World Cup after a third-place finish in Copa America Femenina. When she plays in New Zealand next summer, she will become the first Zag to ever compete in a World Cup. She talked about that experience of qualifying for the event and what her goals are for the rest of this Gonzaga soccer season.
Qualifying for the World Cup was incredible. I think it didn't really hit me right away, obviously, but it kind of hit my teammates a little earlier. So just seeing all the emotion from everyone was super moving and just kind of made me sit in it whoa, we're going to the World Cup. That's something I dreamt about when I was 6 years old, or when I was training in high school. I'm imagining myself scoring a goal in the World Cup, and you never think that that's actually gonna come or happen. So it was super cool, and especially because we were down in that game 1-0 with 10 minutes left, and I was oh my gosh, this might not happen. It's not looking good. And then we scored 3 goals in the last 10 minutes, and it was incredible. It was so much fun. The energy was so high and emotions were so high, which was really cool. I think we can be super good. We're an awesome team, and obviously I came back because it feels a little unfinished here. I want to go to the tournament more than anything, and I think we all do. So that's our main goal. But also Gonzaga has just opened so many doors for me. I know that I would have never been able to play with Argentina or be the player I am without my experience here and my teammates pushing me and my coaches pushing me. If I could watch myself play back from freshman year, I'm whoa, who is that player? So I'm super grateful for that, and I just want to do the best I can here to help the program grow and kind of make a name for ourselves.
Stay tuned to Gonzaga's social media channels in the coming weeks for a full-length feature on Sophia and her story.
To the Martin Center we go, where another school record was broken in September. Fifth-year senior Kennedy Croft broke the program record for career aces last month as she teams with Zoe Theros as the Zags' dynamic duo at the net. The two have combined for 347 kills this season, with both seniors on pace for career highs. The team was faced with a gauntlet of a schedule, squaring off against 3 nationally ranked WCC teams in the span of 5 days. In the third of those 3 games, they took the first set from number 15 BYU in front of a packed house at the Martin Center. They battled toe-to-toe with the Cougars throughout before falling in 4 sets. They bounced back to sweep Chicago State 3 days later in their most emphatic win of the season.
This is the first year at the helm for head coach Katie Wilson. She comes to Spokane after spending the last 7 seasons in South Bend as an assistant coach at Notre Dame. I had the chance to sit down with Coach Wilson last week to talk about her coaching journey, that wild 3-game stretch, and what her goals are for the Gonzaga volleyball program. I'm joined here by Gonzaga head volleyball coach Katie Wilson. How's it going, Katie?
Pretty good. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. So, looking from the beginning of your head coaching career to the end, you stopped at a lot of places over 15 years. How did you originally get into coaching?
So actually, I was a freshman at Loyola Marymount, and I was transferring back to the University of Puget Sound, and my club coach that I had played for found out I was moving back home, and she called me and offered me a position to be her assistant, and she knew it was going to be her last year coaching. And so I jumped at the opportunity because Becky was one of those people who could drive a group, but you knew that she absolutely cared about you deep down, and she pushed you beyond those limits. So I thought there were a lot of lessons I could learn from her.
Nice. All right, so you've had a lot of stops along your coaching career. So Notre Dame was your previous one, and Seattle U, and also very successful high school career. What would you say you've learned at every stop of your way?
So my first head coaching job was at Seattle Prep, and I am incredibly grateful for that opportunity. When I took over the program, we were second to the last in conference. It was a program that had won a couple state championships years and years before, but had taken kind of a downward turn, and took over that program, and within 5 years we were able to win a state championship. So all those lessons of building a program, and the lessons are countless, from how to order uniforms to your travel schedule to your lifting schedule to how you're going to get the team to create this competitive culture, and it was just something I carried with me my entire way.
What would you say led you to Gonzaga at the end of the day?
So my husband's actually an alum,
Nice. Go Zags.
And go Zags. And so it was always one of those places we wanted to get back to. And so when we looked at kind of where I would consider taking a head coaching job, there were about 5 places in the country. I wanted to be able to sit in a recruit's living room and look her in the eyes and her parents and say, you can get the best of both worlds, both academically and athletically. And I believed that Gonzaga was one of those places I could do that. I had built programs, not just at Seattle Prep, but at Lakeside, and had been part of a rebuild and building that program at Notre Dame. So I wanted to be able to do that kind of as a head coach at the college level.
Sweet. Right. Kind of shifting gears to this season. Recently, your team played 3 top 20 opponents. What would you say the lessons that you took away from those games are?
So the game teaches you so many lessons, and we kept saying that it wasn't just those 3 matches that were going to teach us lessons, it was all those matches even before it. And we actually kind of kept a running list of just those lessons that the game was teaching us. So first it was how to compete hard every single point, and then how to treat every point like it has a life of its own, that we're going to let one point end and then we're going to go on to that next point because the previous point has no reflection on the next point. And how to prepare. Preparation was a big piece of it. How can we prepare for every match, whether we're playing a top 20 team or whether we're playing an unranked team, that we have to prepare the same way. So we're just continuing to learn those lessons, and the best part about this team is they've figured out a way to carry those lessons over from match to match to match. So it's not just, oh, I learned the lesson and then it goes out the window. They've been able to sustain that over time.
Great. So you've been in Spokane for a year now, and with Gonzaga Volleyball, what would you say your goal is for the program going forward?
Ultimately, the goal is to win conference championships and make a deep run in the tournament, graduate our athletes, and prepare them for life. So whatever they want to do in life, my job is to help them prepare them, and volleyball is just a vehicle to do that. So one of the reasons I came here is because I believe we can win. I believe it's not just men's and women's basketball, it's also baseball, it's also soccer, it's also tennis. All these sports have done this, and I believe that volleyball can be that next sport that's kind of that next great Gonzaga program. We have the facilities, we have the support of our administration, so why not here?
Yeah, absolutely. You talked a little bit about the other sports. I was going to ask you about what you've seen from the Gonzaga community and specifically athletics over the last year.
So actually one of the lessons I learned when I was coaching at Lakeside was you've got to interview your boss. You've got to interview your boss, and you want to work for somebody who creates this culture within their department where there's this cross collaboration, where you're going to each other's practices, you're supporting each other, and that's exactly what I have found here within this community, specifically in the athletic department. And actually when I was interviewing here, I asked the team, I said, what's the best thing about Gonzaga? And every single one of them said the community, just in unison. And I can tell you, my husband who graduated 25 plus years ago, he would tell you the exact same thing. So that just tells me that this place is pretty special. You've gone through multiple presidents and a new athletic director, and that culture's remained the same. And so that tells me that it's just about the Gonzaga people and the people that are attracted to this type of place.
Well, you've lived in South Bend and Seattle, a couple places with some good food, but over the last year, Spokane has some good food as well. What's your favorite place to eat in Spokane? I
love breakfast, so I would have to go with the Yards.
Okay, nice.
The Eggs Benedict is pretty good.
I like Eggs Benedict too, that's really good. Well, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
Let's walk across the hallway now into the McCarthy Athletic Center and talk some basketball. The public got their first look at the Gonzaga men's team this past weekend at the Numerica Craziness in the Kennel event. But before we get to those highlights, I think it's important that we get to know the players on a deeper level.
What do you mean a deeper level? Why are you messing around? This is a serious show. Are you gonna just like mess around and then show some goofy video?
Well, I personally think it'd be a disservice to the fans if we don't show the philosophical depth of the players that take the court. So let's check this out.
Are there more wheels or doors in the world?
Doors.
I would say
Doors.
wheels.
100% more wheels in this world than there are doors.
But what about the hotels? What about all the buildings in the world?
Bro, bikes, chairs, 18-wheelers. Bro,
Are you counting the little wheels though?
Like, hotels cool, but like, what's in a hotel? 9 times out of 10, it's like a rolly chair in there. That's 4 wheels to the door right there.
Well, if we're considering like windows,
like NASCAR, then you got like Hot Wheels cars.
houses, Bro, there's 4 doors per car.
Oh snap, he's right.
And like all the drawers and stuff, they got wheels on.
But like,
them
does
too.
that count? The little wheels?
It's a wheel.
All right, we gonna count it.
It's a wheel. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Nah, hot dog's just a hot dog. Like, it's a hot dog. You don't call it a hot wedge.
Nah, never been.
I feel like a sandwich gotta have 2 pieces of bread.
It gotta be not connected. Like,
and like,
one,
if your hot dog got 2 pieces of bread, I'm kind of scared for you.
Yeah, for real.
So, nah, it's not no sandwich.
Is cereal a soup? No, it's not. Don't disrespect cereal. Come on now.
That's def. Cereal's a soup. It's a liquid.
Nah, it's not hot and
Yeah, it's not hot, so it can't be no soup.
No, cereal's
Nah, that's nasty. That's like, I don't know. I don't know how many people put milk in their soup.
What you put in cereal is you put food in a liquid. You put food in a liquid, that's what makes soup.
But a hot dog
Is water wet?
No, water is not wet.
what? Water is wet, bro.
Water's not. How is water wet, bro?
Is water wet?
It's gotta be sex.
Water is wet for sure.
Water makes things wet. Water is not wet.
Like if I jump in the pool, I'm wet.
Is water wet?
Water wet. Water is wet. If
Something-
water touches you, it's wet.
No, if the water touches you, you're wet.
You don't put water on water and say that water is wet.
I'm gonna say if you're in the water, it's not wet.
Wet is an adjective
I don't
of
care.
something that was formerly
If
dry.
you put water on a towel,
So you're saying if I pour a cup of water in a pool, the pool's wet
so
now?
is water dry?
The pool's wet?
Is water dry?
Is the pool wet though?
Water's not wet.
Water's not wet.
Water makes other things
Bro,
wet.
water wet, bro.
Bro, water's not wet. Bro.
Water is wet.
They tripping.
What is the correct way to put on socks?
Sock, sock, shoe, shoe. That's the only answer.
Sock, sock, shoe, shoe. Anyone that goes sock, shoe, needs to get kicked off the team.
Sock, sock, it's definitely sock, sock,
Yeah, sock.
And it's specifically my left sock.
The sock, sock, shoe, shoe. If you do it the other way, it's like diabolical.
I don't know. It's like if one of my socks is over here and then another one's over there, like I'll just
put
throw.
on one sock, putting on that shoe.
Well, it just depends
then
on
the other sock
where
is
my clothes are located, you know.
And
And
what?
if anyone said that, like, and when I watch this back, bro, they're done. Like,
I didn't
they're
know
off
that
the
was
team.
an option. I didn't
They're
know
off the
people did
team. Their lockers gone, jersey gone, everything they own. I'm probably taking home.
So say sock,
Sometimes
sock,
I got a
shoe.
sock in my room and then like my living room. Imagine just having
One shoe on.
one barefoot.
So you like walking around with one shoe on and barefoot?
I do wear Uggs a lot too. So. It just depends. I'll probably say sock though.
That's crazy, bro. That's outrageous.
All right, enough messing around. Let's get down to talk business and talk about craziness in the kennel. The annual fan event took place this past weekend and was the first opportunity for folks to see this year's roster. Led by the returns of Drew Timme, Julian Strother, and Rasir Bolton, the men's basketball team should be ranked in the top 5 to start the season and were welcomed by a ruckus crowd in the kennel. Julian Strother took home the skills competition championship, beating out Hunter Salas and freshman Braden Huff in the finals. In the three-point contest, Rasir Bolton took on Malachi Smith in the championship round, and after a string of 6 makes in a row, Bolton walked away with the crown. More importantly, he was recognized prior to the event by the City of Spokane and Mayor Nadine Woodward for the work he does in the community.
In the 15-minute blue-white scrimmage, we got to see a nail-biter that came down to the final seconds. Ben Gregg hit the game winner for the white team with 8 seconds left to lead them to a 38-36 victory. Drew Timme scored 9 points for the white squad, including a 3-pointer and multiple mid-range buckets. Walk-on Colby Brooks went 3 for 3 from the field and led the team with 3 rebounds. Rasir Bolton led all players with 5 assists in the event. And over on the blue side, Julian Strother led all scorers with 12 points and 5 rebounds, while Nolan Hickman hit all 3 of his 3-pointers en route to an 11-point performance. Both teams shot above 50% from the field and combined for 9 made threes.
There was also a special shout out from Coach Few during the event. If you didn't see him at Craziness, you'll definitely see him around the bench this season. JP Batista is back in Spokane in a graduate assistant role. JP was a key part to the 2005 and 2006 teams and is now back to share his knowledge with future Gonzaga greats. Gonzaga broadcaster Greg Talbot had a chance to catch up with JP about his return to Spokane, the lessons he's learned from Coach Few, and what he sees in this year's team. The Brazilian big man is this episode's Alumni of the Month.
Here with our Gonzaga Athletics Alumni of the Month. He's one that you probably remember, Gonzaga basketball legend, JP Batista. JP, for those folks at home who maybe haven't been following you since you were on campus last, where have you been the last 15 years?
Well, the last 16. Last 16 years I've been playing professionally overseas. Graduated from GU in 06, played 2 years in Lithuania, 8 years in France, and 6 in Brazil. So just retired 3 months ago, and now I'm back.
You came back pretty fast. I'm interested to know, how are you different now than you were the last time you were in Spokane, just as a person?
Well, I've had a chance to come back to Spokane every 2-3 years, so it's not like I've been gone the whole 16 years. The last time I was here was back in 2017. A lot has changed. But, well, I'm a father of 2, I'm married for, I don't want to miss this one. I've been married since 2008, so, it's going into 14 years. Strive to become a better human every day, so obviously, got a lot to go, but more mature, and since the last time I've been here, but I'm just overall better.
One of the funny things about the professional world is when you're at a job, you don't always realize what you're learning from your boss while you're in that job. Sometimes it becomes clearer once you've been away for a while. Yeah. In hindsight, what was the biggest thing you learned from Coach Few?
Most of the lessons that I learned from Coach Few, and I just realized it after I had my kids. So he's a big father, trying to teach his kids. Us as players, he's just trying to discipline us and show us the way. A lot of the stuff that I try to tell my girls, Coach Few used to tell us. And but most overall, it's just about taking advantage of the opportunity that we have, especially now. 16 years ago was. The program has grown so much, and these kids, they have so much, and just trying to pass to them to take advantage of the opportunity to get out of here with their education, get out of here, better as an athlete and as a person, as humans. So mostly that's what I take from Coach Few. He's just a big father and trying to show us the way.
I love the reverence you talk about Coach Few with. So clearly you learned a lot from him as a player. What are you excited to learn from him as a coach now?
Well, there's the X and O's, obviously, how to recruit, how to communicate with the players. Obviously, every single one speaks a different language, I'm much older than the other grad assistants. I'm the same age as B. Mike and Steven. We played together here in the past, and so try to grasp, try to learn the X and O's and the language of basketball, and everything's so new to me. But mostly what I'm trying to do is how can I transfer everything that I've learned in the last 16 years profession, how can I transfer that into coaching? And that's what I'm trying, that's what I'm trying to do. Obviously observing and listening every single time I coach Few, B. Mike, Steven, Roger, Jorge. When those guys are speaking, my ears are like big antennas, trying to pick it up everything.
So you just mentioned Brian Michelson and Stephen Gentry, 2 former teammates of yours. Now you're on staff with them. How has it been coming back and getting to work with them after a ways away?
Man, it's so funny because it's one thing about GU is consistency, and you leave, and 16 years later you come back and the same people are still around, and it's like you're going back into time, and so Steven and B. Mike, obviously we had a great relationship as teammates, and that makes everything much easier, and just the chemistry is still there, and the way you can approach each other, and I think it's been awesome. It's been a great experience, and I'm still looking forward to the rest of the year and the last, and see what that's going to lead us.
Well, obviously everybody is beyond excited for the team this season. You've been watching them get ready for the year. How would you characterize this particular group?
We have a mix of some mature players. Obviously, with Drew, Julian, Rajir, all those guys coming back. It's going to give us much more experience that we need, in March. Some youth and some new guys who been working extremely hard the whole summer. So it's going to be a long year. The ceiling is extremely high for this team. We're going to grow as we go, and hopefully have a great month of March at the end of the year. Obviously, we're going step by step, starting at the end of this month against Tennessee, and that's the first step, and continue to grow. That's our goal.
Last question before we let you go. Spokane has obviously changed a lot since you were here on campus as a student. What has it been like being back in the larger Spokane community, considering the changes? It's a different place.
Well, yeah, a lot of new buildings, a lot of closed buildings, Sure. But mostly I've been around GU most of the time. I haven't been able to go out exploring much of Spokane, but definitely last time I was here, there wasn't a Volcker Center and a bunch of, I think the Hemmingson Center,
Yeah.
is how they call it, the building. And so everything, a lot of new things. But man, I'm just so happy to be back, so happy to see great people, great friends, and it's been awesome so far, and happy to be back, man.
JP, thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure, man.
Big thanks to JP for talking with us. Well, it's not exactly March, but we have hit the Final 4 minutes of our show, that is. We're going to put 4 minutes on the clock and see how many stories we can get through. Thomas, on 3, are you ready? 3.
Shout out to tennis star Sophie Whittle, who had her banner unveiled last month in the Stevens Center. The former Gonzaga standout was the school's first ever All-American in 2019 and was ranked #1 in the country as a senior. She has the school record for most wins in a single season and in a career, and she becomes the first Zag to compete in the NCAA Singles Championships. She got to stick around and watch the current Gonzaga tennis team compete in the Hidden Duel tournament, where they finished with a 16-11 match record over the 3-day event.
Gonzaga cross country is off to their best start in school history for the first time ever. Both the men and women were ranked to start the season. After finishing ahead of several ranked programs in the Cowboy Jamboree in Stillwater, Oklahoma, the men's team shot up to the highest ranking in school history at number 12 in the country, while the women have spent most of the season inside the top 30.
Gonzaga baseball alumni Marco Gonzalez of the Seattle Mariners and Eli Morgan of the Cleveland Guardians are both currently playing in the American League Division Series. Marco was part of the pitching staff that helped Seattle reach the playoffs for the first time in 21 years, while Eli has been a key part of the Cleveland's bullpen all season.
The West Coast Conference had their basketball media days last week and handed out their preseason honors. Gonzaga was picked to win on both the men's and women's side. On the men's side, Drew Timme, Julian Strother, and Rasir Bolton were named preseason All-WCC. Timme is looking to become the first back-to-back WCC Player of the Year since Blake Stepp did it in 2003-04. Gonzaga has won a share of the regular season championship each of the last 10 seasons and was picked ahead of St. Mary's to win it again this year. On the women's side, Gonzaga was picked unanimously by the other 9 WCC coaches to win the conference. They finished second last season before beating BYU in the tournament championship game. They are led by 3 preseason All-League performers, the Trong twins, Kayleen Kaylin, and Yvonne Ejim. Here's what Lisa Fortier had to say about her team during media days last week.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's early, so these guys have started talking about what their goals are, and a lot of our goals are player-led, but I know that they're always pretty lofty. I think that there are some things that we did really well last year. Our team never stopped getting better. Our team never stopped believing that we could compete at the highest level. I think those are things we're going to try to take forward into the next season. It's just such a totally different personnel that we have. Of course, these two and Yvonne are back in a similar role to what they had last year. They won't be the same, but they'll be similar. But then a lot of our other players are going to be stepping into a very different role than they had last year. So I think as we figure some things out, we'll see a little bit more, what we can achieve as a team. But our conference does have a lot of good players back. Our non-conference schedule is really tough. And so I think for us, keep getting better every day. We have to improve in all the areas all the time. It's all the same coach stuff that all the coaches say, to be honest with you. I'm glad we don't have a game today because we're not quite ready for that. But hopefully when we get to, our first game and then our first conference game and all those things, we are going to be ready. But, big things, I think we're going to have a lot of opportunities to score the ball in a variety of different ways. A lot of that's what these two can kind of help orchestrate on the court with their skill set. And then just the areas that our players have worked hard in the offseason. There's a bunch of them who've improved their shooting. There's people working hard on face-up game and, making strong moves and all those things. So I'm excited to see kind of where we can evolve as an offensive team.
The Women's Fan Fest event is set for October 15th at 4 p.m. inside the McCarthy Athletic Center.
And finally, we wrap up today with upcoming events. Women's soccer continues their unbeaten run, and you'll have a chance to watch them on national television on November 2nd when they take on Santa Clara on ESPNU.
Men's soccer is a huge home match against 9th-ranked undefeated Portland on October 26th and has their home schedule wrap up with Senior Day against San Francisco on November 5th.
Volleyball wraps up their season with 3 more ranked showdowns, including a home game against number 20 Pepperdine on October 22nd. Senior Day will be on November 12th, where they will be honoring Kennedy Croft and Zoe Theros and the rest of the senior class.
Both tennis teams will be in Palo Alto for ITA events this month, and cross country looks to continue their historic season with strong showings at the WCC and West Regional Championships.
And last but certainly not least, basketball is right around the corner. The men's season opener is November 7th, and the women's open up 3 nights later against Long Beach State. Next month on this show, we will have a full preview of basketball season. We'll talk to the experts and break down the rosters, the schedules, and what to expect during hoops season. Join us on November 11th for another edition of Gonzaga Game Day. Until then, we'll leave you with this. See you next month, and go Zags!
There's an old saying that says, life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% in how you respond to it.
I'm sure this one hurts for Zags fans as well. It was a really hard-fought game for both teams.
So, it's time for our response.
Coming back for another season.
Gonzaga isn't just a school, it's a movement. We're not playing for ourselves. Nah. It's so much bigger than that. It's for the faithful fans who have always stuck by our side. It's for a community that has never abandoned hope. The love for this game is rooted at the heart of our city. This program started as a Cinderella story.
The flipper still fits!
But now we've become a national brand, a modern day David and Goliath. This is the place to be. This is a team you've got to see. This is Gonzaga basketball.
Matthews for 3. Oh my goodness! Somehow gets in control. Forget about Cinderella. Gonzaga once again has proven they are legit. Morrison tries one for 30 feet away. Look down. Oh my goodness, the rim! You kidding me, Roxy? Gonzaga wins it. For the win! Oh yes! John Williams! Oh, he's on fire!
Zag Nation, let the craziness begin.